Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit.
I know you came to hear about the violence. I will get to that. Mark Twain called this time the Gilded Age, not the Golden Age, no. This was rot, plated with gold. Those were the days of the martyrs and the saints. This is West Virginia. Men died in these hills that others might be free. Struggle and lose. Struggle and win. That's the story down the stairway of the ages.
Citizens of the world, welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of April 24th. We are recording on Earth Day, and what you just heard is a clip from a movie that we're going to talk about, and that movie is called Fight Like Hell, the testimony of Mother Jones. Now, Mother Jones was a great labor leader, an orator, a fighter for justice. She came out of County Cork in Ireland, went to Canada, came to the United States. I had the honor of driving up Route 55, coming from Austin, Texas, South by Southwest, where I saw the great band Twin Peaks play, and we stopped and we saw the great monument to Mother Jones. So I'm enthused about this, and I asked my friend Peter Kuttner, longtime pal, been on the show a number of times. We did Rising Up Angry together back in the day, and we're still a little bit Rising Up Angry again. So, Peter, tell us about the film festival that the Chicago Jobs and with Justice Workers' Rights Board is going to show, and then we're going to bring on a couple of filmmakers, and you'll hear a lot more.
Well, thanks, Michael. Always nice to be here. I should remind you, the first film critic of the newspaper Rising Up Angry.
It was a great write-up on the film Bullet, as I recall.
That's true. Anyway, the Chicago Jobs with Justice, as many people know, is a labor support group, both organized and unorganized labor. The Workers' Rights Board is a committee thereon or thereof who looks into current labor issues in Chicago and holds educational hearings about them. When I joined up, because of my obsession with film and propaganda, I suggested that we start a film series. So this isn't quite a part of a festival, but it's part of an ongoing film series that the Workers' Rights Board does. It doesn't have a regular venue. We go from neighborhood to neighborhood, school to school. And I don't know if you mentioned that this one is going to be at Columbia College on the 30th at 6:30. It's in room 310. The particular building of Columbia College is 1104 South Wabash. It's free admission and refreshments are provided. So we'll show the film. First of all, the film will be introduced by a local labor historian from the University of Chicago named Joe Rathke, and he's a union guy as a graduate student. He is the chief steward of the 3,000-member graduate student union at University of Chicago, and it's the UE local, United Electrical Workers Local 1103, and he's their steward. So he's not only historically involved with labor, he is labor.
Well, it's going to be a great film. The people we're going to have on now are Laurie Little and Rana Segal. And guess what? The two of them are making a film about Mother Jones. And that film is called We Shall Rise, A Monument to Mother Jones. So good day to all of you, particularly Rana and Laurie, as well as Peter. How about the two of you tell us a little bit about the film that you're working on now, which I understand is due for completion in 2027, not too far off.
Let me rudely interrupt and say that I forgot to mention that one of the reasons that my friends Rana and Laurie are here is that they will also be presenting a clip of their work in progress on Thursday night at Columbia College on April 30th.
Okay, tell us about the new Mother Jones film, and maybe tell our listeners a little bit more about who Mother Jones was.
So Laurie and I are producing a film about the making of the new sculpture that is being made by Kathleen Scarborough and Kathleen Farrell, and they've been working on it for many years. They actually started it over 8 years ago, and they created one version, and now they went through the city and they've started a new version, which is Mother Jones and a mill child who protested with her when she did the walk for the mill children. But anyway, the film is going to be about 60 minutes, and it will show the making of the monument and also tell the story of Mother Jones.
Right. So we're weaving the story of the making of the monument with the amazing story and history of Mother Jones, similar to our last film, The Light of Truth, Richard Hunt's monument to Ida B. Wells. It's a similar structure. And we're really excited about having already shot quite a bit in the studio with Kathleen, with both Kathleens. They have a history of working together. They have some beautiful, beautiful sculptures that they've done over the years, representational in this case. So we see the child, in the billowing skirts of Mother Jones. We were just really excited about doing this story because Rana and I also both sit on the board of directors of the Chicago Women's History Center. So it's kind of a thing that we've been kind of getting into more and more of lifting up stories of women who need their story told, I think. Yeah.
When I was working on a documentary about Gwendolyn Brooks, as I was driving down the Dan Ryan, they were talking on NPR about how there weren't any sculptures of women in Chicago in a public place. And that just shocked the heck out of me. And Margot McMahon, who was making that sculpture about Gwendolyn Brooks. And it was really pretty amazing that we couldn't believe that this was true. And then since then, I and now Laurie also have been trying to do more and more films about the sculptures of women because we want to have more and more sculptures of women in Chicago.
And murals, like the mural at the corner of Harrison and Wacker. We're also doing a film about that, which is about the 10 Illinois suffragists. So that's kind of a monument. Yeah.
Let me point out that there's a painting on the wall right across from where the Heartland Cafe once stood of Katie Hogan, who has been she's registered more people to vote than maybe anybody. And you might want to go check out that painting. But let me just say, so you all doing this film is more about the sculptor than about Mother Jones. I mean, you were led to Mother Jones through the sculptor?
Well, we're actually weaving the story. So it is a history of the Mother Jones, the story of Mother Jones from her birthplace in Cork. We're going to go to Ireland and, go to Cork and to the Mother Jones Festival and do some interviews there. but we are definitely doing a historic story about Mother Jones interwoven with the making of the sculpture.
We have always been aware of Mother Jones. I mean, and held her up as a hero. And it's just that this is the first time we're able to actually, through this medium, film and watching them make the sculpture, sort of, which is a realistic sculpture of her rather than abstract. We get to see her sort of up close and personal because she, as the sculptors are molding the face, we're seeing each item of her face come to life. And so it's we are honoring her. We love Mother Jones, and so we want to take our heroes and turn them into these movies, and this is our way of doing it.
No, I think it's great. Before we go on and talk more about your films in general, how you all met, etc., one of you tell us a little more about Mother Jones, just so people who have not been able to, enjoy the history, they'll know a little bit more.
Yeah. So the things that are really important to us in terms of this film is that she was born in Cork, Ireland in 1837, and she, when she was around 10 years old is when the Great Famine happened. And so she survived several years, and then her family immigrated to Toronto. Yes, yeah. Laurie actually is Canadian.
My grandmother came over around the same time during the potato famine, and I'm hoping to be able to, tap into some of that history. But anyway, also a seamstress. Yeah.
So anyway, so she gets her education in Canada, and then she leaves and she goes to Chicago for a very short amount of time. And then she ends up going to Memphis, where she meets her husband, George Jones, and she has 4 children, and they live in a place called Pinch Gut. And it is where all the immigrants in Memphis were living, mainly Irish immigrants. And unfortunately, yellow fever struck that area, and her entire family died in that yellow fever. And so she ends up going back to Chicago, and she has a dress shop that she caters to the wealthy women of Chicago on Michigan Avenue. And I believe it's on Michigan Avenue. And so she's doing pretty well there for a while. And then, unfortunately, in 1871, the Great Chicago Fire happens and wipes her out and most of Chicago. So she is impoverished at that point. And, there's the rise of the labor movement at that point. And she's in that whole milieu. And, the Haymarket riots and all of that. And so eventually she meets, people who are trying to organize. She gets involved with the Knights of Labor, and she starts wanting to organize, and she gets involved with the Pullman strike. And she really starts to find her place. She changes her name to Mother Jones, and then she takes off from there. And she's going to all these different strikes and organizing strikes and being at the front of the strikes and inspiring people. And really, she becomes the most dangerous woman in America.
Yeah, I read that they had called her the most dangerous woman in America. She got sent off to prison for a while. She was real short, a great orator, right, under 5 feet, and she was very much influenced by the Ludlow massacre. I think that was probably a wobbly strike. But after that, she just went around talking to people all the time. She became a great recruiter. Mother Jones, something else.
Yes.
So my next question for the two of you is, how did you meet and how did you come together? And first of all, how you got to be filmmakers, how you met each other, and how you created a partnership in making these films together.
Laurie, do you want to take that?
I made my first film when I was 15, in a little very big union mining town in Quebec, Canada. And it was one of the most important union towns in the country. And anyway, I did do a little animated film, and that kind of catapulted me into a lifetime of making films. I took many years off being in photography and print, and working in print in Chicago. And I was a union with the GCIU, Graphic Communications International Union. I was always very in Canada, became politicized when I became joined the first union as a chambermaid at the Chateau Champlain Hotel at 17 in Montreal. So I kind of go way back to that. Anyway, I did go back to Columbia College and did my master's there. My undergrad is from York University in Toronto. Ended up going back to school after working on cigarette ads and that kind of thing, getting quite bored with, making cigarettes around, whatever. So I ended up going back to Columbia and doing my master's in film, and that's where I met everyone I know practically who I make films with. Rana went to film school long before I did, but we did meet during filming of our own works and looking for help on our films years ago. And then this just kind of, how did this happen, Rana?
Okay, well, the way that we really got together was that I was showing my film about Gwendolyn Brooks at a film festival in Oak Park. And I
had a film in that fest too, right?
And we both had our films there. And Laurie said, "Oh, I think that you need to talk to Michelle Duster." And I had been trying to talk to Michelle Duster because she's the great-granddaughter of Ida B. Wells. And I knew that she taught at Columbia College. And so Laurie was on the board of directors of the Chicago Women's History Center, and Michelle was also on the board. And so Laurie talked to Michelle, and I talked to Laurie, and then I talked to Michelle, and we ended up right after that starting to work on The Light of Truth, which was the documentary that we did about Richard Hunt creating the sculpture for Ida B. Wells called The Light of Truth. And it's both of their stories. It's Richard's story and it's Ida's story, interwoven together with the making of the monument. Mm. And that was how we sort of took off from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you both mentioned Columbia College, and I'm really happy to say that I got to teach there for a while. And that's where the idea for the Heartland Cafe, which led to this radio show, came out of my class. And it's a great institution. It's been on some rougher times. I'm not sure where it's at, but every film crew, every TV station in Chicago and beyond has people who've come out of Columbia. Let's talk a little bit more about Richard Hunt and the tribute to Ida B. Wells. Where is that sculpture now? And tell people a little bit more about Richard Hunt, because he's a great name in Chicago art and I guess in movement politics in a way too.
Yeah, he is pretty amazing. He was a sculptor in Chicago for almost his entire life. He went to the Art Institute, and he got recognized early on in his life that he was doing really amazing things. He was an African American sculptor who that was unusual at the Art Institute, and so he ended up being
probably still.
Yeah, and he ended up being catapulted into the limelight pretty early in his career when he was still a student at the Art Institute. One of his pieces was bought by MoMA and called Arachne. That was in 1956. And he was there when the Picasso was unveiled. And then those same people who procured the Picasso sculpture also went to Richard Hunt and asked him to create a sculpture. And that was his first commissioned piece. Anyway, he did sculptures for Martin Luther King, for Ida B. Wells, and they're all around the country. Huge amount. I mean, he is one of of America's most prolific sculptors.
Or is, yeah. And Emmett Till, he has a new sculpture to Emmett Till, one of the newest ones that will be at the Emmett Till Museum at Mamie Mobley's house, will be the museum in Englewood.
Yeah. And anyway, so the sculpture is in 37th and do you remember the address, Laurie, of the Light of Truth? It's in Brownsbury.
30 Langley,
37th and Langley. And it's 3 stories tall.
6 tons of bronze.
I'm going to go by there next time I'm going to the White Sox.
Yes. Beautiful. It's incredible. And now President Obama Center will be opening on Juneteenth, the 19th of June. And the one of the most recent sculptures of Richard Hunt is Bookbird, which is in the courtyard of the center.
Let me
one
ask
of his last sculptors.
I should know this, but is Richard Hunt still with us?
He passed 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, and he made sculpture up till near the end?
Oh, yeah. We were filming with him. He was wielding that hammer and grinder right up until the end. It was quite amazing.
Let me ask the two of you to talk a little bit more about the films that you've made. I know, Laurie, you made a film called Sisters March. Rana, you did one called Painting the Town. There's a bunch of other ones. I love documentary films. I don't see that many of them. So I'd love to hear about yours and also where people can find them. Are they available online? Do you have to have a certain deal to get in to watch them? What's the story on your films?
Yeah. Well, Musher, my film Musher, which I made with Anu Rana, is on PBS and on Canopy, and we have a 5-year distribution contract with them. So you can just type in, you can go to PBS and watch Musher. It's about 6 women in sled dog racing on the Lake Superior shore. And then I have a few shorts available for free at my website at luministfilms.com, LUMINIST. And then The Light of Truth, we are still showing it in colleges, universities, centers, film festivals, and we're looking for a distributor now. So if anyone wants to see the film or show it at their college or university, just contact us. luministfilms@gmail.com or Rana Segal @gmail.com.
How about you, Rana? Tell us about some of your films.
Well, I was a shooter for a long time, and so I did documentaries about a lot of those are ethnographic documentaries with Taggart Segal, and I'm not sure where they are, but some of the other films that I've worked on, the Painting the Town was for Artbeat, so that was a short about a muralist in Pilsen, and that actually was nominated for a local Emmy, but and then there was Shifting Sands, which I co-produced, and that I think you can go to the Shifting Sands website to see that, and that was also nominated for a local Emmy.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming on the show. Laurie Little, Rana Segal, a couple of wonderful Chicago filmmakers doing a new film called We Shall Rise, a monument to Mother Jones. One more little thing on Mother Jones is I'll give you a quote from Upton Sinclair, who was a great muckraker journalist. Probably we should have a show on him too. He said, "She had force, she had wit, she had the fire of indignation. She was the walking wrath of God." I love it. Mother Jones lives today. We probably need her and her spirit more than ever. I want to thank you both for coming on the show. I want to thank Peter Kuttner, too, for setting this all up.